Another example of something that apparently is very difficult or impossible to find in an internet search is autistic screeching. I got interested in this because of a comment on my last video and tried to find an actual example of somebody autistic screeching. But the first few ones I checked under the search term on YouTube at least were not such examples at all. They're of regular people being mocking or hateful or outraged in some way. So what I looked up on another search was an example from Autism Speaks, itself perhaps not the best source according to some autistic people or people labeled that way. But it talked about a boy who could produce in work in school and could talk and so on. So in the classical sense was not autistic, making these screeching noises. But he did it when he was happy about something or concentrating on doing something. So this is similar to the way the children we don't label as autistic vocalize. When they're playing or something, they'll let out some high-pitched sounds. And I found this really worrisome in that you can't find these sorts of sounds in a search. The examples of joy and productivity simply aren't there, and we're dealing with a whole area of positive emotion that's disappearing. It's not represented in this type of discourse. And this is what you see with a lot of death propaganda, as I call it, is you take something healthy and then try and turn it into something pathological. There's also the tendency to reverse cause and effect when coming up with these oxymoronic terms. In my case, I can express joy at least after the F6 in full voice video, but that is as a result of having produced the sound. Whereas with the children who are labeled as doing something pathological, they are joyful first and then they produce the sound as a result of the joy. The other one is concentrating and working on this as part of some other task. Now, I concentrate to produce my high notes, but solely for the purpose of producing the high notes and monitoring how high I can sing, not as part of doing another job. So there's a reversal there of what really is called this screeching. I'm doing the opposite of it in a lot of ways. I'm also trying to acquire an ability, not being impaired by a disability. It's difficult to produce these notes, and I have to work hard to gain this ability, or to perhaps lose something that I lost in early childhood, although I don't remember ever being able to sing that high. So what we have here is a profound, as far from the truth as you can possibly get, misinterpretation, misportrayal of what's really going on with people's voices. In my case, I can actually produce notes of a very high, or sounds of a very high pitch while talking. It's in my talking in hisses and whistles video. So with most people, they don't know in the first place because they're not producing a sound that high. But when you get that high, it's very hard to vocalize at the same time. It's not because I'm autistic that I'm not speaking while producing notes done by that technique. It's just that nobody can produce speech at that level, or almost nobody, with some exceptions like the one I've shown. So there's a classical definition of autism, of course, that the person can't speak. So it's completely absurd to say autistic screeching, because autistic people who are so badly afflicted they can't speak probably can't screech either. It's the ones who are smart who can do it, or above normal intelligence or normal intelligence. So we have a really vicious mischaracterization and an attempt to wipe out certain emotions from public discourse, much like George Orwell talked about with Newspeak, where if you find something and you want to crush people's freedom, you eliminate all the words that have to do with freedom. Well, this is even more extreme in that you're eliminating even the sounds people make when they're happy or when they're productive, and so that they don't come up in a search. This, ironically, is a form of what people have thought of as autism, in that someone can speak theoretically or communicate intelligently, but they're locked away in a world of their own. So the internet has created this world of their own effect, where people are silenced. They are capable of making sounds of joy and productivity, but nobody hears them because of the way that the search engines are set up.